So we are backstage right now getting ready for not World of Ability. For tonight, we've got AbilityMKE Now. We are going to be live here on River West Radio in about 20 seconds. So just stand by as we get ready to roll. Welcome to AbilityMKE Now. My name is Sue Roskoff, and we are here on River West Radio, ready for another awesome time together. AbilityMKE Now is a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability hits a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own or with people we know or people we encounter in our daily lives. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and we celebrate the ability in all of us. I am excited to share some news tonight. We did talk about it a bit last week, but it has been a very exciting week here. We are ambassadors actually with Project Die Hard. I know Project Die Hard is something we have talked about before. We've had the founder, Brian Gibson, on with us in the past, and I just want to share a little bit about Project Die Hard and the exciting news coming from them and their organization this week. So Project Die Hard. What is Project Die Hard? It is, I'm actually looking at their website right now, projectdiehard.org, and I'm going to take some notes directly from it so you can get a real glimpse of what Project Die Hard is. They are a faith-based, scripture-led 501c3 organization. They are a true veteran nonprofit. Their mission statement is bring hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. So they have a location. They have a location that was donated to their organization in Makanda, Illinois. And just a glimpse forward here, their goal is to have a location in every state in the United States. And I hope that we end up with a location here in Wisconsin in the very near future. But what they have currently here is this location in Makanda, Illinois. They have a 20-acre property and a 10,000 square foot building on that property. And the folks that live nearby there that have been volunteering, and by the way, it's an all volunteer group. They are all sweat and huge hearts. They have been putting together what they need on this property, whether it comes to the property itself, getting it ready to go, whether you're talking about the building and all the compliant pieces they need in order to have basically be open to the public. They need a kitchen, they need bathrooms that are accessible. They eventually will have all of the pieces in place for sleeping quarters, all of these things. Okay, and now why? Why do they have this? This is a location where veterans can find what they need. Basically, they can find help in any number of ways in order to get themselves on their feet, basically. So bringing hope to veterans. Why do we need to bring hope? And why is that such a key centerpiece in this? There is a crazy, to me, it's a crazy statistic to think about. back probably about 10-ish years ago is when I first heard about and I'm taking a little detour here and I'll bring this back around to Project Die Hard, but there was a documentary that was put together called Project 22. They actually had a showing with the guys who were in Project 22 that basically it was following them, and the two gentlemen that were there, they are veterans themselves, and they understood the massive problem that exists among the veteran community, and that problem is suicide. And we have been losing way too many veterans to suicide. Project 22, how that name came about, that was in reference to the number of veterans that are losing their lives on a daily basis. And that's the part that just absolutely blows my mind. So 22 a day, that's the average. As of 10 years ago, the statistic today, I'll just say it's much worse. It is much worse. Back when they were putting that documentary together, the whole point of that was to bring this problem to light so people could see what's going on, so they could get a connection to people who this has affected, and actually also highlighting ways for different veterans. How are they getting through? What are they doing to make a difference for themselves and to give themselves something to look forward to, something to have hope about? Because that's been from what that was all conveying, that's been a big piece, right? If somebody is at that point in their life where they are actually contemplating something like suicide, obviously they've lost their hope. They aren't seeing a future, and that's where that documentary was showing all these different, I'd say, activities that there were. What's standing out in my mind are some of the activities that they were highlighting along the way. So they basically took this motorcycle tour across the country and visited veterans who were finding their outlet. I guess that's a word I can use for of an activity that they truly could submerge themselves in. So one place that they went had equine therapy. What is that? It's horses. The connection that an individual can make with a horse is tremendous. If that's not something you've experienced before, it's hard to describe. Anyone who has experienced it knows exactly what I mean. That is one thing. They highlighted sailing. They had a group of veterans that found sailing as their big outlet, and that was a big piece of their lives. For us personally, we've brought veterans out water skiing. I mean, anyone who knows us knows that we are all about water skiing and about adaptive water skiing, and that has also been a big piece. I know over the years we've taken out many veterans out on the water, and that's been a piece, just a piece, but it's been a piece that has made a difference. So in a nutshell here, that's what Project 22, that documentary, was all about. So fast forward to today, that statistic has gone horribly the wrong way. The last time I was told a number earlier this year was somewhere more in the line of 47 a day. So we are going the wrong way. And that is where Brian comes in and Project Die Hard. So one stumbling point that has been obviously noted is when military folks are coming from active duty and ending their time on active duty and transitioning to civilian life. That's hard. That's incredibly hard, because everything you've known, and now take this for what it's worth. I am not a veteran. I don't know. I've only am able to share what's been shared with me. So I'm trying my best to convey what I've learned along the way and what's been described to me. So if you can imagine being, when you're in the military, you've got all the things are taken care of for you, so to speak. You don't have to worry about, where am I going to sleep tonight? What am I going to eat? What do I have to do today? Because you know what? Those things are going to be here, and I'm going to be told what's next. So they have a very, very pat hand of what's going on. And yes, as a non-veteran, as somebody who's not been in the military myself, I know I'm not fully representing this as I could if I was a veteran, but I am doing my best. So give me a little grain of salt with this. But going from that, transitioning to being back in the States now, and now you got to figure out, okay, where am I going? Where am I going to live? What job am I going to get? What do I need? What's happening now? What do I do? Everything is different now. My day to day just went from what I've been doing to something completely different. And you know what? Like I said, that's hard. And to have some help, to have a place to go where you can get the help you need, whatever that might be. If it's just you need some time to figure out where you're going to go, or you need some counseling for whatever that is. You need uh, an outlet like the equine therapy or whatever it is. You need something to do to figure out what's next. Whatever it is. I could list a long list of possibilities here, but whatever it is that is needed, that is what Project Diehard is there for, so that veterans know that somebody cares. They know that we got your back. There's going to be a place for, I believe it's 12 individuals and 2 families. If the facility, this 10,000 square foot facility, is completely full, that's what would be there. And they would be able to stay for a day, a week, a month, even up to a year, to get their lives to where they need to be so that they can actually be out on their own doing their lives as they want to do them. And this was then a stepping stone for them to get to where they're going. So why am I so excited and talking about this? All the things are finally falling into place. The permits are in place. All the things that they need to have the facility be open to the public is now in place. There's still work to be done. There's still a lot happening there and a lot of work to be done to be 100% able to actually take people in to be able to stay there. But you know what? They are open. So I'm excited. I want people to know that that is there, and to understand what it is, and to be able to help in whatever way that may be, as far as, spreading the word is the biggest thing. And people need that resource. They need, again, that hope. And it exists. It's there. We just need to let people know about it, so that, and just share that information. That's huge. Um, there's a number of stories that can be told, and that would be, oh my goodness. All of the good that they have already done is massive. And I'm just thankful that they are there, and that there's a lot of volunteers involved in this, and all the good things that they have done and are yet to come is just an exciting time. And I'm very proud of the people that are there and all that they are doing and have accomplished and will be accomplishing. So that is all I want to share about them for now, but I'm sure we'll be talking about them again in the future because of all all the wonderful things going on. So what was last week? Last week we had Thanksgiving, we had Black Friday. How many of y'all went shopping? I did. We have Cyber Monday. We have Giving Tuesday. All these things. All there's an amazing long list of possibilities of what we all could have been doing with our time, our money, all of the things, right? And I hope that for everyone, that we all get to spend time with family, friends, do the things that we would like to do when we have the time to do it. And I would like to just take that moment of, okay, Thanksgiving. It is all about giving thanks. What are we thankful for? I know I was just talking about Project Diehard. I'm thankful for that organization. I am thankful for River West Radio. The fact that we are able to do what we do and share the news that we do is really a blessing for us, and I hope for others. That's our goal, is to be able to make a difference, right? And I'm very thankful for that. I am extremely thankful for one guy that I got to brag about a little bit. I'm extremely thankful for Kurt. Kurt is my husband. Kurt. He's the guy who if it wasn't for all the things that he did along the way over this the last 10 years or so, I wouldn't be on here right now talking. It would never have happened because it was just not in my vision of where I was headed. I am very thankful I'm here right now and that this is a thing. So I thought, gosh, so tomorrow happens to be a big day in my house. It's a birthday. It is Kurt's birthday tomorrow. And what does that mean here? Okay, so since forever, birthdays, it's a national holiday as far as we're concerned. So I do want to take just a moment to brag on him just a little because of all of the unusual and amazing things that he has done. Because again, if it wasn't for all these pieces along the way, I don't know, oh my gosh, the thin threads that take us from where we are now to where we are tomorrow, next week, next year, 5 years from now. It's amazing when you really look back and take that moment to think about, how did I get to where I am today? There are so many little pieces of, oh, I met this person, or oh my gosh, I happened to attend this event and this is what happened, and now all of a sudden I'm it's changed my life. There's a lot. And when I think back over the last decade of what's happened here that again has brought us to where we are now, and that we are advocates for all the things that we are with ability, disability, all of the pieces here, breaking down the barriers between people. There are so many reasons that are, honestly, like imaginary reasons, but there's reasons why people aren't as connected as they could be. Often fear of the unknown. I think back to what I may have told this story before, but it's one of these where when I think back to this would actually be more like 18, 20 years ago, a guy who's a really good friend of ours now, like a really good friend who happens to be a wheelchair user. And I remember when I first met him, Kurt had met him first, and the two guys kind of knew each other. And we had this party that we were going to at a friend's house, and this friend that's a wheelchair user he's going to come with us. We're going to this party together. And that was one of the first times I had met him. I didn't know him well. I didn't understand his abilities, his disability. I didn't understand very well. And I just remember being in that place of, I don't want to ask questions because I don't want to be rude. I want to help. This is all good, but I think this is just all really new. And at the time, I didn't know how to describe it at the time, but it was the unknown. I didn't know him. He happens to stutter. So communicating, it was also a little challenging because I wasn't used to somebody who stutters really at that time in my life. And so, I was still kind of a stranger too. It made him nervous and made him stutter more, and which it's all good. But when you talk about that's part of where I come from here. When I talk about disability, people that have disabilities and people that don't have a disability living life here together, sometimes that fear can be enough to divert people and to not take that moment and make the friend I did the best I could to be kind, to be doing what I could to help, but I didn't know what that meant. And I'm sure so many people can relate to this, that you're trying to do the right things and just don't necessarily know what that might be. And when you go fast forward here 20 years later, this guy I'm talking about, he's one of my best friends. And we when we think back and realize all the things that we've gone through together and all of the things that I've observed of others interacting with him, and I have learned so much. And all those experiences I am extremely thankful for. At the same time, it makes my head spin around a little bit when I think about how it's so easy for us to make assumptions and jump to conclusions. And back to that day we're at that party together, I jumped to conclusions and made some pretty stupid assumptions that day, which in hindsight is hilarious. But at the moment, I was just kind of nervous, and I was like, I don't know what does he want? I'm not sure. And it was so silly. All these things, in hindsight, it's hilarious because I made a big deal out of something that really wasn't a big deal. But that doesn't that happen to all of us? It's something where when we, if we're not familiar with it, if we don't have that thought process at any point ever, then when you do encounter something, it's that much more of a challenge to us. If you've never had a friend in a wheelchair and you meet somebody in a wheelchair, you you probably introduce yourself differently, or you might, maybe not, or think differently talking to the person in the wheelchair versus the person that's with them that's standing there. Because honestly, why is that come to my mind? Because I've seen that happen a lot, actually. If somebody who's a wheelchair user has their somebody with them who's a caretaker, whatever title you want to give them, somebody with them who's helping them out, oftentimes I see people talking to the caretaker instead of the person in the wheelchair, just because they think that's the way to do it. It's really it's interesting. It's really something to think about ahead of time, and that's why I'm bringing it up, to think, if I have a question for the person in the wheelchair, I should actually ask them. And if it ends up that the person that is standing there with them can answer to whatever, you open the conversation, but you talk to the person. It's still, if that's who your question is with, that's who your conversation is with, that's who your conversation is with. And I know I'm totally taking a tangent here from where I was starting with Kurt, but I do have one more example. Actually, I feel like I should be sharing as well, because I remember at one of our water skiing events, a mom at the end of the event actually came over and gave me this really big hug and was saying that, how much she appreciated the day. And one of the things, and it wasn't just the skiing, there was a lot of things there. It was a great day. It was a fun day. Her and she had two young individuals with her that both were wheelchair users, uh, and they did not communicate real clearly, verbally and all that. And that was something that when she came up to me at the end of the event and gave me this big hug, and she was like almost in tears when she was sharing what she was sharing. And it was it really, it still resonates with me. I can still picture myself standing there and her saying how much she appreciated that when we came over to explain what was going to be happening with how does the ski work, what are we going to be doing on the water, we weren't just talking to her, we were actually talking to the young people who were actually going to be in the sit ski. They were the ones that were about to experience this for the first time, and we talked to them, which at this point in time, to me, it's just like a no-brainer that they're the participant. I need to explain to them what's happening. And she was telling me how much of a different experience it was for her to get to experience this event as mom and not as caretaker, go between. We explained to her and she has to explain to them. And that's one of those things that just, it didn't occur to me to think of it that way. But she was thrilled at how much it meant to her to be able to be mom that day, or at least for that time, because obviously she's mom all the time, but she has that caretaker role all the time. And for that to be her experience, that she got to do this event with us and to be able to be in more of that mom role that day, that really meant something to her. And I didn't see that coming. It was one of those moments of, wow, that to me, it was so eye-opening. And I like to share that story just because it really, I hope it's eye-opening for others too, just to have again, if you think about it, before you get into that experience or that type of moment in yourself, then you're mentally prepared for what's next, and that I think is a big deal. So I hope that, I don't know, it was in my heart to share that. So I hope that is resonating with somebody at this point. But back to Kurt, I gotta go back to him again here, because if it wasn't for all the things that he did, I wouldn't be sitting here talking right now, and AbilityMKE Now would not exist. And all the cool things that have been going on with adaptive water skiing across the state of Wisconsin would not be happening. There are I'd say when I look around me and see all the people that I know, there are people who just show up and participate and contribute and make a difference just because that is who they are. And they're the ones that are always the one to raise their hand to volunteer. They're the ones that are always showing up and they're doers. They do what's in them. And there's a lot of people who, everybody's got their own lives. They got their own things going on. There's some people that I know stay in the background, that being out and forward and all that is not them. That's fine. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with wherever anybody is at, but it stands out to me when I think about all the things that Kurt has done to put himself out there. And you know what, sometimes there's some risk that goes with that, right? To be able to stand up and be bold to say, hey, what happened way back that spurred a lot of this with that adaptive ski possibility for another friend of ours that didn't happen on a particular day. Had that situation gone differently, I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this. And that was enough to make a difference for Kurt because of who he is. He was not okay with what happened that day. And he did something about it, which, he could have just been grumpy and said, that really sucked. But he didn't. I mean, he was grumpy and said that really sucked, but he did something about it. And I am so grateful for that because it's made a difference for so many people along the way. The ripple effect that has happened, and that I can see the number of people that I've met that I never would have otherwise met. All of the good that's happened. I mean, when I think back, he was the very first director of the disabled division for Wisconsin Water Ski Federation. He served that role for 2 years. It has since been renamed. It's now the Adaptive Water Ski Division, which is better. I prefer that terminology. But he was the guy who got it going. It was because of who he is and the questions he asked and what was in his belly and in his heart to make a difference. He did that. And a whole bunch of us went along, and one person can't do everything, but if it wasn't for what he did, none of it would have happened. So I'm thankful for that being the case, and that he did all the things he did to move that forward. I mean, that's led to so many things. That led for him to end up on the governor's council on physical disabilities. He served on that council for a few years. I actually at this point don't even remember how long that was, but that was something that he did and represented people in that role. I mean, it was a governmental committee, so that's important. And he's been a board member for ACAP, Adaptive Community Approach Program. He's been a board member there for 6 years now. So he continues to give and do great things and is still making a difference for so many people. And I just, being it's his birthday tomorrow, like I said, I just wanted to take a moment to kind of brag on him and to be able to share again how thankful I am for all the things. Now, it wasn't easy. There was a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. There was a massive learning curve, and there's always going to be with anything that is worthwhile. There's going to be, that's not a straight line from here to there. It's up and down, and oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. But all the good that has come from that, all the wonderful people in our lives because of that. It's stunning, actually. It's incredible. And I just hope that this next year for him can be as good as these last have been. And I do have one more thing that I want to make sure to mention. Do y'all know about the River West Radio bake sale going on? Y'all need to go and check that out. It is riverwestradio.com/shop. And that is important. It's huge. And I'm super excited. I'm baking for it and hope you all can check it out and make the most of it. Thank you.